Tales of Mithrym.
At the Sign of the Running Horse, narrated by Dolynuik, Part 6, Passive Perception. The captain pulled a cigar and a tinderbox from her pocket and lit up, taking a long breath and then leaning in towards Alvin. She spoke in a low whisper. So, here's the thing. We're following a lead, and honestly, we could do with whatever help we can get. A man of your standing would be useful. Alvin's muscles ached, and his head was still swimming from a long day of walking, but he nodded dutifully, and she continued. We're on the scent of a necromancer. We had an anonymous letter that gave directions to this very site. There's nothing else for quite a distance around, and despite the writer's secrecy, the details do all seem to match up quite genuinely. And here we are. This is a big deal. They've called in wardens from 3 counties to track down the last of the necromancers, so we've got the authority and jurisdiction to take them away or to kill on sight as needed. Alvin straightened up. It looked like this could be a long night. Have you got any sort of description to go by? The warden sighed and drew on her cigar. Unfortunately, no. But we've got this place surrounded, and no one leaves until they've been caught. Alvin frowned, but kept his voice low. Are you saying we're in lockdown? This building is full of people. Innocent people. What if… The captain straightened up and stared sternly at Alvin. I know the risks well enough. We can't let this monster give us the slip. Alvin scoffed. The captain frowned. This is exactly why we could use your help. You're an experienced military man. You know how to hunt for people, I'm sure. She drew on the cigar again. And I'm also sure you know your duty. Alvin sighed. The captain smiled. And you're also just another patron. No one's going to be watching you. They'll all be too interested in us. I'm sorry, but I simply cannot, said Alvin. I've been on the road all day, and right now I'm exhausted. I'm quite sure I would only get in your way. The captain seemed to mull this over for a moment. I understand, she said, but please do think about it, won't you? If you change your mind and want to help, just say. Alvin nodded. It was an honor meeting you, Lieutenant. Thank you for your service. She put her hand on his shoulder, then turned around and made to walk away. She froze as her eyes fell on the young woman in the blue frock coat sitting beside her. She forced a smile and then sat down again. Alvin's head was swimming as he tried to focus. The two seemed to be talking for a short while, then the captain went off to join the tall warden she had come in with. The young woman looked apprehensive, even a bit startled as the captain left. Hello, Alvin said. Is everything all right? She looked at him curiously and nodded. I'm fine. Then she turned away and sipped her drink. All right then, enjoy your drink. Alvin had finished his meal, and he was now just finishing his drink too. The young woman turned back and looked him up and down for a moment. Hi, she said. I'm sorry, that was rude of me. I'm Derville. She held a hand out to Alvin. He took it and smiled. I'm Alvin. Nice to meet you. You're not from around here, are you? She asked. No, I'm from Crail. It's quite a way to the west. She nodded and continued to drink. Alvin noticed that she seemed to be on edge as she talked. As he was about to speak again, he heard an argument erupt from behind him. He tilted his head and looked around. Ducky was arguing with the captain's companion. Apparently, Ducky was not too happy about the big man sitting so solemnly while others were laughing and having fun. When he'd invited the man to join the dancing crowd and was refused, Ducky had gotten angry and was now shouting at him. The warden looked visibly annoyed. Alvin chuckled to himself. I suspect you're not from around here either, Alvin said, turning back to Derville. No, she said quickly, just passing through. Oh? Where are you heading? She seemed to think for a moment. I'm heading to Cherryville. Do you know it? Alvin smiled. I'm afraid not, but it sounds like a beautiful town. Oh, it is, she nodded. Particularly good food. It's to die for. Oh, really? Maybe I'll go visit there someday. I have a lot of free time on my hands now, it would seem. You should, smiled Derville. It's popular with travelers and sightseers. It's one of the great sights. A huge place. Sort of place you can easily get lost in. A lot of big houses owned by a lot of big families. The Osneys, the Vissiers, the Lombies, the Ranleys. Alvin winced. Do you know the Ranleys? They're quite a big family. You could say that. Did you work for them? Not exactly. It has been a good long time since I last saw any of them now. The warden and Ducky were now both shouting. Their voices reached a new high and wrenched Elvin's attention away from Derville. It did not seem quite so funny now, though. The two men were fuming at each other. There was something in that scene that poked somewhere deep in Elvin's memory, and it was as if some stone wall had crumbled and rushing images flashed past his eyes. His expression grew darker and darker as he slowly turned his face from the quarreling men to the bartender who was merrily working away behind the counter between Elvin and Derville. Elvin stared at him long and hard. Inside his mind, a storm raged as thought fought against fatigue. Reason won out, and Elvin spoke, holding firm eye contact with the old man. "Cyrus," he said levelly, "would you care to know how I got this sword?"
Tales of Mithrym are written by Jimmy Clephane. Mithrym is a fantasy world built for the Dungeon Room role-playing game system. To find out more about the world of Mithrym, or to try out the game, go to www.mithrym.com.